Are we live? I think we're live. We're not really live. You're just seeing this probably hours after I've already recorded it. But this is the Not a Podcast from your host, Shawn C. And I call this Not a Podcast essentially because this isn't the traditional thing that a normal podcast would have. I have no co-hosts. There is no video with this. Unless you really want one, then I'll put one up the next podcast. All my friends are street niggas, and all the females I could have on this show don't really care to discuss hip hop. So, I'm on my own. From time to time, I'll get a guest that you guys are aware of, their internet presence. I'll probably get one of them on every now and again. But for the most part, it's just going to be me and you. We're going to get real intimate with this series, all right? I don't want to waste too much time because I have a couple topics to get into. But I guess the main theme for this podcast is just going to be offense. I guess the main theme for this show today is going to be offended. And this is, like I said, it's less of a podcast, more of a just imagine a talk show host with a mask on, I guess you could say, even though you already know what I look like. And in some way, no matter what I'm talking about in today's podcast, it always comes back to someone being offended over something, right? So let's get to the first thing, the one that I decided I wasn't going to make a video about. And I'm only going to dedicate a couple minutes to this because I'm really not that interested in it. I think more people are interested in the backlash that Machine Gun Kelly could receive to his diss toward Eminem than they are about his actual diss, right? Which is always, what do I say? It's always negative. It's always sucks. It always sucks for the person making the diss record who comes out with whatever it is that they come out with. It always sucks when the fan base just in their entirety is more excited about their opponent's response than they are about the person who dissed the popular rapper in this instance. And in this instance, it would be Eminem. So Machine Gun Kelly goes off on his track Rap Devil. And I'm like, okay, this is standard stuff. It's, playground insults from what I would describe or how I would interpret his diss record for the most part. The most poignant thing he says in his lyrics is Eminem preventing him from getting to certain levels and certain spots in the industry. Now that to me is an issue because Marshall, heads up, no one prevented you from getting to where you were despite how many people had issues with you. A bunch of people had a whole lot of bullshit to say about you. No one ever stopped you. Well, I'm sure there's some people that tried to prevent you from getting things. But like as far as the rap field is concerned, I don't think there were that many people that were trying to stop you or prevent you from getting it where you wanted to go, basically. So for you to do that to Machine Gun Kelly, who in my opinion is already having a hard enough time being relevant and staying relevant as it is, that's some bullshit. You shouldn't do that. That's upsetting and it's telling. So that's all I really got from the diss. And to me, Machine Gun Kelly, like I said, he has some valid issues. He has some valid points. But it goes back to what Eminem said in Kamikaze. What Eminem said in Kamikaze is also a theme for the next two portions of the podcast. Eminem starts out by saying, hey, I mention you, win-win for you. Or lose-lose for me. You mention me, win-win for you. That's a theme for Machine Gun Kelly right there. And that's going to be used as a precursor for the next person I'm going to talk about as well. But they're falling into the same theme that Eminem spoke of in the album. It's like the people that are coming out and having an issue with what Eminem said didn't listen to the album because they're doing exactly what he said was going to happen. You mention me, win-win for you. I mention you, lose-lose for me. Meaning that Eminem has nothing to gain by mentioning these people. All he's got to gain, or all he's got, is giving these people traction. Because if you look at Machine Gun Kelly, the thing that annoys me about this is no one was talking about this dude before Eminem dissed him. That's what annoys me. Now you got all these people talking about, oh, I love the spirit of hip-hop. This is what hip-hop needs. Nigga, you didn't even know about this shit until Eminem mentioned it. I didn't care. I didn't want to know. But it's cool. It's hip-hop. It's hip-hop. I get it. I get it. People want to see a good diss. I get it. But no one was talking about Machine Gun Kelly. A lot of people who never even liked Machine Gun Kelly's music are like, oh shit, he dissed Eminem. What's this gonna turn into? It's not gonna turn into shit. Especially if Eminem doesn't respond. If Eminem don't respond, Machine Gun Kelly loses all this traction that he just received. Because I guarantee you, majority of the people that are saying, oh, this shit was great, only know Wild Boy from Machine Gun Kelly. That's it. I'm a wild boy. That's all they know. I guarantee you. I'm probably wrong, but I can like probably verify a lot of what I'm saying too. I don't get it, but there's a lot of people excited about the diss, and I understand spirit of hip hop, whatever it is that you want to call it. Go ahead, go for it. The thing that I'm upset about is, like I said, how everything's falling into place. Now, not the hugest fan of Kamikaze, but there are some good moments on that record, far better than Revival, right? But let me get back to Machine Gun. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me get back to Machine Gun Kelly real quick. Machine Gun Kelly. The thing that keeps me from liking the diss record from Machine Gun Kelly as much as I probably would is because there's nothing beyond the obvious that he says about Eminem. Now, Pusha T, right, when he initially dissed Drake, that's unconfirmed speculation, right? Well, I guess that's kind of a oxymoron to say unconfirmed speculation or whatever. I don't even know if I use that word in the correct context, but that's speculation. So that's why a lot of people go crazy anytime someone mentions ghostwriters in Drake. They immediately think that too because it's not confirmed, even though it kind of is. But Drake, nobody's ever come out and said it verbatim. And even though we all speculate basically. But it's a hot topic. So whenever it's mentioned, we're always like, I wonder where this could go. Saying that Eminem's old and saying, oh shit, you're not making the type of music that you used to make. We get that already. We know. You didn't say anything that we weren't already thinking. And for you to be a rapper, your job is to say the information and put it in a way that we never would have thought about it. So the reason I really don't like the diss from Machine Gun Kelly as much is because it's a little bit too basic. The formula isn't that complex. It's not really that intricate. And when you're dealing with someone like Eminem who pays a lot of attention to detail when it comes to his lyrics, I think that'd be an important thing to pay attention to. How much blood can I draw from what it is that I'm about to say? And if you can't draw a lot, then you need to go back and rethink the diss. But I do think there are some things that have some truth to it, like Eminem being held up in a hole too long, or spending too much time in the house away from people. Big rapper, I get it. I get what he's saying. But I've been thinking about this for years. It's nothing brand new. So for me, Machine Gun Kelly bringing this information up, it just doesn't do anything for me. Right? But that's neither here nor there. The diss record, it got Machine Gun Kelly traction, 20+ million views in under a week. A lot of people that didn't know who he was before, they know who he is now. So I guess it's a win for him, right? Win-win for you. Win-win for you, Machine Gun Kelly. Eminem, on the other hand, gained nothing from mentioning Machine Gun Kelly, other than just proving the fact that he gets to initiate and spark, and even when he's dissing someone, their response to him is even praise. I don't understand that, but it's cool. The next person I wanted to get to real quick is Joe Budden from the Joe Budden podcast. Joe Budden. He has some harsh words for Eminem. And normally I can see the angle from which Joe Budden is coming from. I find myself at least thinking in a lot of ways similarly to Joe. Not in regards to Eminem, I'm just speaking in general. Like a lot of the things that I've ever heard him say or even heard him profess in his music, I'm like, oh, I can empathize with that. I get where you're coming from. Even though I'm much younger, significantly so, I still feel a connection to some of the stuff that he says. So I was really surprised when I came into the podcast, which was heavily anticipated. Everybody that heard the Eminem diss and went into the Joe Budden podcast, they knew what they wanted to hear him talk about, right? And I was one of them, because I was just like, hey, what you got to say? How you gonna defend yourself? Did you hear it? Did you hear it? I'm not gonna tweet at nobody talking about, did you hear him diss you? That shit's corny. But for the most part, I was like, okay, what are you gonna respond with? Are you gonna be emotional? Are you gonna be mad? Are you gonna be upset? That's kind of where my head was at. So the first thing I saw was Twitter. I was like, oh shit, Joe posted a clip on Twitter, or somebody posted this clip on Twitter. Actually, no, I think he was trending or something like that. So I'm like, oh shit, oh, this is great. Oh man, this is about to be some controversy. Nice. First thing I see in the clip is Joe Budden saying that he's been better than Eminem for the past decade. Wow. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. What the fuck? What are you talking about? Now, wait a second. Hear him clearly. He said he's been putting out better music than Eminem over the last 10 years. What does that mean? I believe that means that he's, insinuating he's been more palatable than Eminem over the last 10 years, right? And can I agree with that? No. But I get where he's coming from. So here's what I'm trying to say. Again, this is another instance. Lose-lose for me, mentioning you. Win-win for you, mentioning me. This does nothing but good things for Joe. If I have to go to your comment section of whatever content that you decided to express your disdain for whatever Eminem said about you in those diss records, and I see people commenting, who the fuck is this? I see people commenting, I had no idea who Joe Budden was before this diss. I had no idea who Machine Gun Kelly was before this diss. If I hear people echoing that sentiment, then I know this is win-win for you. So again, Eminem mentioning another person that a lot of people don't know about, gaining nothing. Gaining nothing. But again, this is somewhat based off of being offended still. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you and act like Joe Budden isn't a very strong lyricist, because he is. There are a couple of people that a lot of people don't know about that are strong lyricists. Got MF Doom now. I won't say now, but recent for me. There's tons of people. I don't need to go through the list. There are tons of people, though. A lot of people that lyrically could destroy Eminem. A lot of people. The thing I found odd about Joe when he said, I've been better than you for the past decade, is I don't ever hear niggas talking about, the thing about rap music that's weird for me, when Biggie and Pac were going back and forth, even though they didn't really have a back and forth, they were just kind of one diss record, then another diss record, but not really a diss. But Nas and Jay-Z, who else? Drake and Meek, Meek and Push. Drake and Push. When I heard them going back and forth, I was like, okay, I see where they're going. They're fighting for territory. They're fighting for respect. They're fighting for placement. They're fighting for power. Right? Because that's what rap gives you a lot of times. If you're beefing with somebody, you're not beefing because you think, oh yeah, I don't like what the fuck this person said. A lot of people do. I don't like what you said. Those are the cornier beefs. A lot of people who are beefing because of the territorial aspect of rap and just the dominant presence, who's going to take over this land. A lot of people that do that are rapping because they want that respect. They want that power. So when I hear Joe Budden say that I've been better than Eminem for the last decade, this is like watching old dudes be offended. It's the fucking greatest. It's funny as hell. But the thing that I guess throws me off when he says that, I've never heard a rapper tell another rapper, I've been better than you for this particular portion of your career. I've never heard a rapper say that. I've never heard a rapper say that, ever. And I only say it's strange because you're either going to say you're better than someone or you're not. Kendrick isn't going to come out and tell Drake, I've been better than you from the years of 2015 to 2018. Kendrick isn't going to say that. Kendrick's just going to say, I'm the GOAT. I've been better than you. Fuck any album that you've ever made. I've been better than you. Forever. So I always think it's odd when people say, "Oh yeah, I've been better than you for this and I can't even say anyone's ever said that, but to say I've been better than you for this portion of your career, it's odd to me. It is odd. It's especially odd when you're a retired rapper saying it, because I just feel like you're speaking from. I feel like the words are empty if you're not saying anything that you're gonna do. Now, can I agree with Joe in his sentiment that he's been better than Eminem for the past 10 years? No, because I also disagree with Joe when he says, okay, I need content in my music to enjoy it. Basically saying that Eminem's music has been content-less for the past decade. I disagree heavily with that. Now, there's a lot of music that Eminem's released over the past decade that I haven't been a fan of. Music. For the most part, Eminem can deliver when it comes to his bars. So I'm never really thrown off when I hear good lyrics from him. I never really am. But content, lack of content, I can't say that. That whole last album was filled with content. It was just content we didn't want to hear. I didn't want to hear Eminem talking about that shit because he seemed to come across very disingenuous and seemed to come across as very uninformed. Seemed to come across like a gimmick or like a ploy. Like, oh, this is what people are talking about now. Let's talk about that. Let's make an album about Trump. Or let's make an album about the state of the world right now and not really say shit. But to say that there was no content within that, there's a lot of content in that. The last 3 songs on Revival are fucking great. But it's cluttered with way too much bullshit for people to even notice or acknowledge those songs that are good on Revival. But for the most part, Revival is a bad album, but there are some solid songs as standalones. But to say that for the last 10 years, Eminem's been contentless? Recovery came out in 2010. Relapse, I think, came out in 2009. Something came out in 2009. I'm missing it. MMLP2, better album than all of everything within the last 10 years. MMLP2 came out in 2012 or 2013. I'm not 100% sure. All that music, you're gonna say that's contentless? That has no content? I don't know about that. So when I see him thinking from that perspective, I feel like he's either forgotten about the music that's come out, because if content is what you're saying is what gets you to enjoy the music, the content from Eminem has always been there. You just may not have been interested in it, which is understandable. So if we're judging it based off that, and you're saying you are a content man, and you've been better than Eminem for the past 10 years based off the difference in content, but you also say that Eminem's music is contentless, I can't really take what you say that seriously. Because you're telling me you're basing the skill of the MC off of the content at which they speak in their raps. And Eminem's been full of content. So I don't know what he's talking about. But I get the angle. For majority of that podcast, I enjoyed it, though. I love learning. I love history. I love getting information on shit that I have no clue about. Of course, being from Detroit, I'm a fan of Eminem. I'm a fan of D12. I know about everything that Eminem's been connected to. So Slaughterhouse is a thing that I've acknowledged already. But it's always cool to get some insight and see how things are behind the scenes. You guys see Eminem as a rapper. They see Eminem as a person, as a businessman, how he is in other ventures beyond the music, right? So they got bullshit to deal with beyond the Slim Shady. But I'm not taking the words of Joe that seriously. If he says, okay, I'm going to, I will lyrically dismantle you. How seriously can I take you? It's like it's like a retired boxer telling me I'm not going to put the gloves on unless you knock me out with one punch. Unless you give me a hit that stings. And that I guess that's the thing that I guess kind of bothered me about what he was saying, because he was speaking in a way that kind of essentially said, unless you punch me in a way that I can describe as painful, then I'm not going to respond and get out of my chair. See, the thing here is that I think is weird about rap and beef in general. I think people think you have to respond based off of the damage you think the person received. And I don't really think that's true. I think Eminem has to respond to Machine Gun Kelly, unfortunately. But he sparked it. He brought it up. It's not the damage that you do, it's the disrespect that the public thinks you received. And I know a lot of people don't care about the public opinion, but those are your fans. If people have a perception of you that you are a weaker artist, they're not going to support your endeavors. Now, but that's the thing. Joe's no longer an artist. So why are you speaking in this way? You don't get the privilege of being outside of the ring and inside of the ring at the same time. You're either going to get in and talk your shit, or you're going to stay out and not say shit. You're going to stay out and not say shit at all. So that's where my thought process on that is. You can't be in and out. You either got to be all the way in, drop your diss record, talk your shit, say Eminem ain't shit, or you got to stay out of that. You can't say anything. You can't. You don't get the privilege of being in and out at the same time. The fuck? Perception, right? Look at Tyga. a lot of people don't support Tyga's endeavors based off the reception and the perception of him, right? But you're gonna sit here and tell me that song he released with Offset a couple months ago isn't fire? That shit's flames. Lyrically, I don't think it's that great, but the aesthetic to it, the verse, the way he writes the beat, oh my God, it's perfect. That song is great. That song is great. Don't tell me otherwise. But the perception of Tyga is an L, right? Just like the perception of Meek for a long time was an L. Again, rappers don't really have to damage each other. The public just has to think that the rappers were damaged. And as long as the public thinks that, then it's up to the rapper to respond, more so proving himself to the public than proving himself to the rapper. In my opinion. I could be completely wrong on that, but that's just my opinion. I know a lot of rappers, like I said, they reply based off of poignance. They reply based off of effectiveness. They reply based off how much they were impacted by whatever it is what the other artist said. But just in my head, if we're going based, if you think you can come at me, you clearly thought that I was on a level where you could diss me or disrespect me and you could just like walk away scot-free. So basically, if Eminem has that perception of you, that lets you know where he ranks you in his mind. Either he's severely overestimating himself or he's severely underestimating you, and I doubt it's the former. So, if I'm just using my brain. He already thinks a way about you that he thinks he can diss you real quick and just leave. He's not doing that to Kendrick. He's not doing that to Cole. He's not doing that to Shawn, even though he could. He's not doing it to Hopsin, even though he could. So that's just where I stand on that. I think it's odd, and I don't think you have the privilege or the right to talk your shit and not be ready to go at that very moment, and also be on the sideline saying, I don't think you get to talk your shit while you have your towels. You already threw the towel in. So I guess talking your shit at this point is just kind of redundant, unless you're dropping music with it. That whole podcast excerpt would have been crazy if it were a song. But it's not. You don't get to talk shit from the sideline and talk about how you're still in the ring, because you're not. Just my opinion. That's just me though. But for the most part, I enjoy the history lesson because I like absorbing information. I like getting that extra info. So I'm glad that I know that. I'm glad that I know a little bit more than I did before. That's where I stand on that. But again, that's based off of offense. It's based off of offense. Eminem being offended by something that Joe said about his album. Eminem being offended by something that Machine Gun Kelly said about his daughter. And this again is coming from the rapper who's offended some of the most groups in the world. But I think we can get off Eminem now, right? I think we're done talking about Eminem. At least for the moment. If Eminem comes out with a diss record and he gives Joe what he wants and says, I get what he's saying. Joe's thinking that his value is, at least I deserve more than that. If you want to get me out of my chamber or out of my retirement, you can give me a song. You can give me more than a domestic violence bar. Understood. Got you. But again, he's not obligated to. And I say he's not obligated to simply because if he views you as a rapper that's not deserving of a song, you're not getting a response. You're not going to get a provocation. You're not. It's not going to happen. But we're sticking to the theme of being offended here, right? The next thing we got to talk about real quick. I thought somebody came in my house. I was about to reach right in the safe. I am not kidding. I'm not playing with you. What's the next thing I wanted to talk about? Doja Cat, Twitter cancel culture, and offensive slurs. Oh my God. They are now ready to get Doja Cat, or from what I understand, they're ready to get Doja Cat the fuck up out of here. The funny thing about Doja Cat is she really did it to herself. And I don't know how much what she said has affected her since she came out and said it, but I know it wasn't pretty. So Doja Cat and Twitter cancel culture and slurs. Two things I want to start this video off by Two things I want to start this part of the podcast off by saying. I'm always really annoyed by two things. The way people react to how people use slurs, and the way people who are exposed for using these slurs respond after they're exposed for using them. I hate both completely. The outrage over these words, let me get to that first. The outrage over these words is what really pisses me off, because it's always some fake woke, oh, I want to be offended for the sake of others. They need to be victims so I can come in and be a Captain Save a Ho, Captain Save a Black, Captain Save a Gay. I need to be that person. But I'm not going to do it through like some extraordinary means. I'm not going to go, appeal to Congress or some bullshit like that, or go to my governor, or go to, try to get an enforcement of some celebration of this group that I feel is oppressed oh so much. No, where am I going to go? I'm going to go to fucking Twitter, and I'm going to talk about, I'm going to say the same shit that everyone else feels about this thing, but I'm going to say it, and hopefully people acknowledge me for saying what everybody else is already thinking. I hate the way people react to how people, I hate the way people react to seeing these things. And I'm not saying you should be desensitized to it, because I do think there is a level of offense that should be taken to certain things, especially dependent on the way the person intended for them to be received. But what I will say, if you're going to respond to something that's offensive, and you're just going to echo the same sentiment that majority of the other people already share, why are you saying it? In my head, I just think you're saying it because you want attention. What do you think? You're a great person because you sat on the internet and you found some shit that you knew people would view as offensive? Because you're only grabbing this thing that you think is offensive because there are a lot of people that also think it's offensive. So by default, there's going to be a ton of people that agree with what you say right off the rip. And that's okay, because it is what it is. But there's a ton of people that are going to agree with what you say. And that's what pisses me off. Because you're not really saying this for the most part. You're not really saying this because you feel it needs to be said. You're saying this because a lot of the time you want to be acknowledged for saying it first. What are the privileges of being first? Being first comes with a lot of perks. It comes with the attention. It comes with the acknowledgement. It comes with the recognition. It comes with verification for some folks. A lot comes with being first. A lot. That's just how people react, right? Oh, people react terribly to these slurs. People get more offended than the people that the slurs were intended to offend. The last thing I want on Twitter is to see some white girl talking about the dangers and the plight of black folks and how deeply the N-word impacts my life. That's the last thing I want to see on Twitter. You want to talk about cultural appropriation? That's some fucking cultural appropriation, you stupid bitch. Why are you talking about the N-word? Why? Why are you trying to explain to people the dangers and the effects of the N-word? You, a non-black person, why? I'm not even saying that you can't empathize, you can't understand. I'm not one of those people that thinks, oh yeah, only black people can talk about this. Because there are a lot of people that have speculations on the origin, how it offends people, if it's used to offend at all, how it should be used and everything like that. Have those discussions, because that's important. It's good dialogue. It's cool. But why are you speaking on my behalf? I'm not a child. I'm not a kid from Africa. Well, I mean, yeah, my ancestors. Yeah, but I'm not straight off the fucking boat. I don't need you to talk for me. I don't need you to be, oh yeah, let's be offended for this person because they need my pity. Oh my God. Captain Save a Black, here to save the day. No, stop, please. And I'm sure a lot of gay folks feel the same way when there are certain people that try to come out and, express their distaste for other people using the word faggot. And I only didn't censor that word in the last video because it's just contextually, it just probably wouldn't have been appropriate. These words I use never. This you know what's crazy? That video I did where I was explaining the use of Tyler Creator and his understanding of the word. That is the first time I've ever said that word out loud. Ever. You can believe me or not believe me. That is the first time I've ever said that word. I don't have a reason to use the word unless I'm speaking about it contextually. For the sake of this podcast, I'm speaking about it contextually. But it's not going to be used a ton because I'm not trying to go crazy with that. I don't have a reason to use the word, so it's never going to come out of my mouth. It doesn't need to come out of my mouth because I have no reason to use it unless I'm quoting someone who said it, or unless I'm speaking about it in context to a story, and this happens to be that story. Yes, I hate the way people react to how these words are used. I absolutely hate it. I just feel a bunch of disingenuous things from it. And mainly, I guess I feel disingenuous because of the way social media has spiraled out of control, and the need for validation, and the need for validation from numbers. I guess that's why I feel this disingenuous self-rage from people seeing the word or being exposed to these slurs. I guess that's what kind of annoys me. Because every time I see this bullshit, more often than not, you go to somebody who's talking about the dangers of using the N-word, and they got the fucking N-word on their page somewhere. Y'all niggas ain't safe. I see you. I see everything you're doing. Everything you're doing, I see it. So you're not in the clear. You're not anti-racist because you come out and you say some shit that the rest of the world agrees with. You're not. I'm sorry. You're not doing this great deed, going to somebody's backlog in their catalog, looking for tweets to say some shit or quote some shit that's offensive and expose them. You're not doing anything great. I know you think you are. You're not. But that's how people react to these things, right? And I hate that. Now let's get to how people respond. Because honestly, if Bill Clinton comes out and we see Bill Clinton had some words on like a tape from 15 years ago where he's saying the N-word 40 or 50 times, and he comes out and he says, "I'm sorry, I didn't know the offense that it would cause. I didn't know the dangers." I'm gonna be like, cancel Bill Clinton. But cancel culture is whack as fuck anyway. I'm gonna be like, somebody run up on him and beat his ass. Because I hate when people become spineless once they get caught doing something. I hate that. I'm not one of those people that are like, oh yeah, keep the same energy. I'm not saying that. But what I will say is keep the same energy. I hate when people backtrack after they're caught saying these things. Doja Cat, like I said, is a prime example. I hope I'm saying her name right. If I'm not, I really don't care, because she deserves what I'm about to say. Doja Cat. I guess the thing that annoyed me about her response, like many other people that have been caught saying some shit that they think that they weren't supposed to say, now that they've been caught saying it, my issue with her response is literally, you just got through saying you said faggot 15,000 times and you found no issue with it. You thought it didn't make you anti-gay. You thought it didn't make you anti-anything. You thought that the people shouldn't have been offended. You said you think you don't hate gay people. You said you're fine. The minute she got some backlash, what do we get? I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to offend any. I didn't know the severity. Shut the fuck up. Please. Please. Stop. Are you kidding me? You want to shrivel up inside your own vagina now because you said some shit? You brought it to light. Nobody was even looking for your tweets. I'm going off on another rant because I hate when people look for shit. No one even looked for your shit, and you just threw it out there. You were caught saying it, you got backlash, and then you shriveled up inside your weak-ass vagina once you got caught saying what you said, and then come back with this weak-ass apology that's super disingenuous, super basic, super PR. What are you doing? This is what I hate about people. When they say some shit, get caught saying it, they're exposed for saying it, they get backlash for it, and then their politics or their morals are shaped based off of the backlash they receive, not based off how they genuinely feel. When you apologize after you're caught saying some shit recently, it's bullshit to me. Why are you saying sorry? Why? Why? I know y'all don't know about this one dude, Monday Matt or whatever. I saw this podcast, this dude getting exposed for saying or for reporting people because they were talking shit about him. I saw this dude oh man, that shit is hilarious. The minute he got caught, I was in a bad place mentally. I'm extremely apologetic. I've made mistakes. I've made error. Get the fuck out my face, man. Get out. And that's not me saying that people can't be sorry and they can't apologize for things. Because you can. But be genuine about it. If you said nigger, you said faggot, say you said it, but just say, sorry if I offended anyone. Wasn't my intent. Don't come out and say, I didn't know the severity. I didn't know people would get this way. I didn't know the history. Don't say that. Don't say that. Please. If you're going to come out and say these things, just be bold and be honest with them. I'd much rather some celebrity. Let me see. Who would I be shaking up if I found out they were saying the N-word? Who would I be shaking up with? Man, who's a white person that I support that I'd be really shaken up with if I found out they were using the N-word? Who would that be? Shit, I don't support anybody white. Maybe I'm racist. I'm not racist, I swear. Let's say a member of the Fleet Foxes, right? But see, not a lot of people know about the Fleet Foxes, so I don't know if they would, people would echo my sentiment with them. Shit, I don't know. Just think of anybody famous, white, that you support. I mentioned Bill Clinton earlier. I mess with Bill Clinton because he's always been real. Dude's always been honest or straight. Well, I can't say that, but dude's always been, he's always kept the same energy, basically. What about Joe Biden? A lot of people like him. I don't know why. I don't know why. He was a VP for a black president. Maybe that's why people like him. But yeah, take him for instance. If he was caught saying it, how would you feel? Then if he were caught saying it recently, like within the last 5 years, how would you feel about that? I guess my point is to say, I'm not really upset with what these people say. I'm upset with how they respond to the backlash, because their response is entirely based off of the backlash they receive from whatever it is that they're saying. That's what I don't like. That's a shit I don't like. If your response is based off the criticism that you're likely to receive by saying whatever it is that you've said, then you a bitch. You're a piece of shit. Get your account banned. You deserve to be canceled. Even though I don't agree with cancel culture. Imagine, again, I tweeted this a while ago too. Imagine thinking that you can cancel somebody on the come up, on the grind for some tweets that they said, some bullshit that you found. Imagine you thinking you can cancel someone for that. Imagine it. Maybe I'm wilding, tripping as usual. Maybe my panties are in a bunch. Maybe I'm offended. I'm upset. 50,000 for my head. That's disrespect. Okay. This is why I shouldn't have a podcast. I guess that's all I gotta say about that. Sabrina Claudio is another example of somebody who was somewhat canceled for her tweets. I'm not really upset when I guess when people are like caught saying it when they're 13, 14, 15 years old, even though I completely knew a lot of the severity of the words that I was using when I was that age. I was very aware of the shit that I was saying and knew not to say certain things if they didn't apply to a situation that I was in at the moment, so that I wouldn't have the need to use these words or this vocabulary. I try not to use words that don't fit the situation or words that just contextually serve no purpose to the conversation that I'm having, because I just think it leads to messy situations. You don't need that. You don't need that language, then don't use it. I don't get what's the point. What's so hard about that? But that's not me saying that anyone who's caught using these words is immediately a discriminatory bigot or anything like that. It's just you probably shouldn't have used that language. And now that you're caught using it, you want to offer this disingenuous ass apology that means nothing now. It makes you look like a bitch, but that's neither here nor there. Before I end the pod, let's get into Kanye West's apology. That's another thing. Now, I can't speak to the exact way that he responded, but I appreciated Kanye West's apology more than I've appreciated anyone's apology who's offended a mass audience before. This man came out, and let me see if I can pull up his interview real quick, just so I can directly quote him and not speak and not paraphrase what he says. Let's see if I can directly quote this man.
Or how that slave comment made people feel. So I want to take this moment right now to say that I'm sorry for hurrying. I'm sorry for the 1-2 effect of the MAGA hat into the slave comment. And I'm sorry for people who felt let down.
Now, I've heard a lot of people saying that this is just damage control and that he's just covering up his tracks. I like, the thing that I'm having a problem with and seeing that logic is this dude released his albums well before he released his apology. And I get people are it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be a lot of traction, I guess, a lot of looks for the album and everything like that, just based off him saying what he said. But the thing I guess that strikes me in an odd way or a very weird position is how is he doing something good for himself by going with a very unpopular opinion and then not apologizing until well after his albums have kind of died down a bit. I don't get how that's for publicity. When, like I said, if you know anything about Kanye's history, there's sometimes when he's done this and he's had nothing coming out. There's sometimes he's done these extremely controversial things and said these very weird things and he's had no music dropping. Now, for the most part, Kanye doesn't talk to people until he's about to drop something. So you got a point there. But I don't really see it as damage control. Yeah, the shit should have never came out of his mouth. But I guess the only thing that I actually liked about his apology was saying that he was sorry to anyone who was offended, and that he knew that the MAGA hat in the what is it? The MAGA hat in the slave comment was a 1-2 effect, meaning it was a lot for people that weren't used to that side of Kanye. It was a lot for them to take in, I guess, is what he was trying to get at. But in this apology, I feel like at least he stuck to his guns. If you're gonna say something, he's just trying to say that I didn't say it the way I meant to say it, but he still meant what he said. And that's really all I want for people to be. Yeah, you need to rephrase the way you say certain things, because some of it could just come off as extremely ill-informed or extremely inconsiderate, or like you just don't give a fuck about what you're talking about, because what you're talking about is extremely controversial, and it feels like you're taking no care or precaution to word things the way that you would want them to be interpreted. So when people take what you say out of context, can you be upset with them? No, because you didn't give a fuck about what you said when you said it. But I'd rather him say, I meant what I said, just not the way I said it. I'd rather him say that than come out and say, I didn't know the danger of what I was saying. I didn't know that it would offend so many people. I didn't know that what I was saying, I didn't know this meant so much to so many people. I would much rather him say what he said in that interview than say all the bullshit that I just said. I would much rather him do that. Another piece of offended material. Kanye West in this apology is based off everyone being offended. So the whole premise of this episode right now has been being offended. That being said, Kanye West politically is free to have whatever opinion he wants to have. I don't have a problem with that. Just don't speak on politics when you yourself admit that you're not into politics. And you're basing your like of Trump simply to personality, when the position he holds at the moment is based in politics, you know? So as I said before, I mean, if Trump has policies that you agree with, then go with him. But if he doesn't, then don't. But if you don't understand any of the policies, then that's something that you should probably reiterate every time you mention him. Especially when you're talking about being a free thinker. Freedom of thought is not freedom of explanation. Kanye West is also apologizing in other avenues too for producing the Pusha T diss. I just think he's going too far. Now, the way he responded in a couple of interviews hints at the idea that maybe he doesn't want to smoke with Drake or whatever. I don't know about all that. All I'm saying is, I think it's really weird that he's coming out and apologizing to artists that easily get offended anyway. I guess that's really all I got to say today about everything going on. It's been me. It's been Shawn C. This is the Not a podcast. Feel free to leave your thoughts and opinions about all the topics that are discussed in the podcast in the comment section down below. I'm definitely curious to see your thoughts and opinions on everything that was discussed in the video. And yeah, I guess I'll see y'all next time. I'm gonna try to bring this back. I'm gonna try to keep it consistent. Oh my God, it's gonna be a tough one to just sit down for like an hour and talk about some shit. That's gonna be tough, but hopefully we can tough it out. Stay consistent. Consistency breeds results. So yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Thank you for watching, and I'm out. Peace.